Great. So welcome to oral language and the foundation of literacy skills. Some about me. I am originally from Ecuador. I am mestiza of race, mestiza, bilingual. I am very passionate about classic literature and film. I have 2 children, and I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, and let me see if I can move this here. I'm a wife, I'm a mom's cat, and all things multilinguals. Okay, so just to focus ourselves on the topic of my presentation, I would like for you to think about a conversation you recently had, or think about an oral language activity you planned. What was that about, and how did that go? Here. So let me share the objectives for my session. My content objective is that we're going to explore research-based information about the connections between oral language and the development of literacy skills. The language objective is that we can reflect and share about our current practices to promote oral language and literacy skills in our contexts. The culture objective for the session is that we can transfer research-based information about oral language and literacy skills into our specific contexts. Let me define language first. Language gives definition to our thinking. Language is operating system, how we think, how we process information, and how we remember. Here I have a quote by Leo Vygotsky, who guides a lot of the paradigms in communication and language acquisition. Now I'm going to define talking. Talk is the representation of our thinking. Reading and writing float on a sea of talk. According to Catherine Snow, who is a researcher at Harvard Graduate School of Education, she reminds us that we do not need to wait until they learn to talk to engage them in conversations. Now, my topic is literacy. As you know, there are skills and knowledge that encompass literacy. These are important skills and needed knowledge to develop literacy skills. I am going to focus today in the knowledge area, mostly on oral language. Language and literacy. Literacy is language. Language is literacy. Language and literacy is everything we teach. Literacy contributes to language development. Literacy is central to daily life. So why oral language? I have 2 visuals here to back the reasoning that I have behind the importance of oral language and literacy. Oral language is often called a bedrock of reading and writing. Students' comprehension of spoken language is a defining factor for the reading comprehension, the ultimate purpose of reading, as well as for writing ability. So, oral language is the foundation of written language. Reading is a language-based skill. The relationship between oral language and reading is reciprocal, with each influencing the other to varying degrees as children progress through school. As you know, there are several skills that encompass oral language skills, such as vocabulary, lexical, syntactic knowledge, discourse level skills, listening, oral retelling, oral production. In essence, oracy increases skills and proficiency of reading and writing. So when we think about talking in the classroom, what kinds of talk are we promoting in the classroom? Altering the ratio of teacher to student talk doesn't just happen. Rather, it occurs through both believing in the importance of student talk and planning with a clear purpose and expectations. Language and literacy development benefit from high-quality interactions, social scaffolding of language, and continued practice of literacy skills. As you can see here, these graphics are listing the different ways of purposeful talk in the classroom and all the elements of oral language instruction. So I would like for you to take a moment to reflect on these questions. How might you foster an interactive classroom environment in your classroom? When do your learners engage in interactive discussions? How do you communicate expectations and processes for engaging in group discussions? When did I signal to students that I expect them to take over the thinking and learning? You can drop a note in the chat, maybe a reflection that you have, or a strategy that you use, a protocol that you embrace in your classroom. Oops, up here in the chat. Turn and talk. Students to process the content. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's so many ways of promoting oral language skills in the classroom. Well, thank you for those ideas. Now I am going to focus specifically on reading. This is a summary from an article that I read from the International Literacy Association by Nell Duke and Kelly Cartwright, where they contrasted the simple view of reading, as you can see here, that is based on Scaraboe's rope of reading elements, versus this updated version more aligned to the latest research on the development of reading comprehension skills. The researchers acknowledged the broad label of language comprehension under which culture and content knowledge falls, hence the importance of content knowledge to reading. The importance of cultural and content knowledge may lead to more instruction aimed at building students' knowledge, which research has found positively impacts reading development. As you can see, also, in addition to that, in this bridging process, at the bottom, we have theory of mind. The active view of reading includes the construct of theory of mind, which is the understanding of one and others' mental states, such as thoughts, beliefs, intentions, desires, which are very important contributors to reading. Theory of mind is to be taught explicitly, and social reasoning can be prompted and guided through meaningful conversations about texts. This model highlights the role of the reader's cultural and content knowledge, and the mechanisms by which social cultural contexts and the reader's social identity, including racial, religious, socioeconomic, gender, and many other socio-demographic aspects of identity, impact the reading process. Okay, let me admit some more people here. We have more people coming in. Okay, great. So I thought it was important for us to ground ourselves on research. And as you know, this is a very contested topic these days. And as teachers of language learners, we are thinking about our instruction and our purpose for our language learners to continue developing literacy skills and language. So if content and knowledge are important, what content and what knowledge are we going to focus on? So this has important implications for our practice. It is important to build deep and broad knowledge to lay the foundation for comprehension and for further knowledge acquisition. High quality reading instruction is important so that readers can use their knowledge in different reading contexts and for different purposes. So when I attended training about learning to talk by talking with Catherine Snow, she suggested that we select the content working backwards, starting in the upper grades, so students develop the background knowledge that will benefit them to access the content in the upper grades. She also suggested to focus on students' interests and their funds of knowledge, so we can build more knowledge on the knowledge that they already have. So now I'm going to focus on knowledge, rethinking the role of knowledge in reading comprehension. On an article by Hugh Katz, I understood that reading is multidimensional. You might be familiar with the reading panel knowledge elements according to the reading panel when it comes to developing reading skills. They included comprehension among the 5 big skills. But in 2002, the RAND Reading Study Group reported upon the research that reading comprehension is a combination of factors within 3 different categories: the reader, the text, and the activity of reading. Readers bring a unique set of cognitive abilities, language skills, motivations, interests, and background knowledge to reading. Readers vary considerably, and this impacts their comprehension. You may use strategies to activate background knowledge, but these might not necessarily develop knowledge. This was eye-opening for me because we talk a lot about background knowledge and developing background knowledge without realizing that sometimes readers simply do not have the knowledge, so we need to build the knowledge. Here is an example of a way of building knowledge with our readers. We can use interactive read-alouds. They can be integrated in any content area. We can plan oral language to be used before, during, and after. We can look at vocabulary. We can look at syntax and the structure of language for our readers to connect that with oral language. We can model how to monitor comprehension, how we see patterns, make inferences, how we pause to look for new words, how we discuss about characters and elements in the story. Essentially, interactive read alouds both reader and listeners actively process the language, ideas, and meaning of the text. I know that there's a lot of read aloud promoted in our classrooms. However, there are many ways how we can leverage those opportunities and make those read aloud opportunities into rich oral language practice opportunities. Also, I would like to expand on interactive reading, adding the powerful strategy of dialogic reading. This is also something that was shared by Dr. Catherine Snow when I did this course on learning to talk by talking. And also Dr. Noni Lesaux is also another person who strongly promotes talking to develop literacy skills. So dialogic teaching can harness the power of talk to engage in interest, stimulate and extend students' thinking, and advance learning and understanding. This strategy pays much attention to the teachers and students' talk. It focuses on the relationship between language, learning, thinking, and understanding. And we can connect this to the content areas, and we can connect this also not only with oral skills, but developing more knowledge, as I said. We can promote scaffolded dialogue as we do dialogic reading. We can promote scaffolded dialogue through interactions, through questions, through answers that build on each other's answers and ideas, through feedback that leads to more thinking, through contributions to extend their knowledge and ideas, through exchanges. It can be chained together so they can grow ideas onto others' ideas. So, as I said, using talk to learn to talk and to access literacy is really the focus of my session here. And I'm going to focus on meaningful classroom talk. We can leverage the power of classroom interactions to simultaneously foster language development, content knowledge, and analytical practices. Most importantly, teachers must create a trusting classroom culture in which students feel that whatever level of language they can produce, their contributions are valued. And I would add also, whichever language they use is valued. More on quality interactions. We can design lessons that involve multilinguals' participation in subject-specific oral practice to accomplish clearly defined lesson goals. And we have great opportunities when we co-plan with our co-teachers or when we are planning our small group instruction. Those are great ways to plan in a deliberate way to build tasks to engage students in working beyond their current level of competence, making sure the task is designed to meet its purpose and the materials used are appropriate to support students working at the edge of their competency successfully. Leading students to more complex demands is essential for multilinguals to build understanding, integrate reading and writing into oral development activities. You may have several ways and strategies of how you promote this in your classroom. here are some examples of what I have used or what we have used as a team with our students. I work with lower elementary schools learners. So we have some protocols for students to engage in, such as someone mentioned turn and talk. Sometimes they're having a conversation about a particular topic. We give them stems to agree and disagree respectfully. Depending on the genre we're studying, we think about what are the stems that will prompt those conversations. Right now, we are looking at book clubs. So depending on the groups that they're in and the proficiency level among the students in the group, we build all those boards and come up with the different stems that could help them. So these are examples of scaffolds that are, we can call them formulaic expressions, what are phrases that help start or link ideas and can be used in many situations. The upper grades might use protocols such as Socratic seminars, Harkness methods, question formulation strategy, and there are a variety of things that others might know. And I will share a Padlet at the end so you can add some of your ideas there too, because time is a little bit short today. So now I am going to connect oral language and writing. Just like there is the simple view of reading, the simple view of writing hypothesizes that ideation and transcription are two necessary component skills, whereas the not so simple view of writing proposes text generation, executive function, and transcriptional skills. Oral language is key skill for the ideation component of the simple view of writing and the text generation component of the not so simple view of writing, because generated ideas must be translated into oral language before they are transcribed into written input. I read two research papers and attended a conference where Kim and Park, the researchers of this paper, talked about they examined the relation of discourse level oral language skills to reading comprehension and written composition. Discourse oral language captures an oral compositional skill, the ability to generate ideas and translate and organize them into oral language. And they draw on higher cognitions, as you can see here, such as reasoning, foundational oral language skills, vocabulary, and grammatical knowledge, which are supported by domain general cognitions such as working memory and attention control. As you can see, there is a lot that goes on before our students write their ideas. But discourse and oral language has been found to be very beneficial to develop ideation and transcription skills in writing. So content and knowledge, back to content and knowledge, but now related to writing. The contribution of content topic knowledge to writing. Writing requires the generation of content ideas for which topic knowledge is necessary. Topic knowledge plays a particular central role for novice writers because writing for beginning writers is essentially a knowledge retrieval process where writers retrieve readily available content or ideas from memory and encode them in print. Thus, those who have greater knowledge about a given topic are likely to include more details and elaboration on the topic. Greater topic knowledge is also hypothesized to allow rapid access to content, which releases cognitive resources that can be used for other processes, such as organizing ideas, which influences the quality of written composition. So by emphasizing the links between oral and written language, students can be empowered as they learn to communicate in a range of ways for different purposes and audiences. As you can see, writing is not a linear process. We can promote drawing, speaking, and writing as a unified system for making meaning. And I will give you the links to the research in case you want to explore this further. As I said, my focus is younger learners, and I can see really how this connects to how much they know, how they start with their ideas, how they transcribe their ideas into writing. Connecting back to talking and writing. So there are many creative approaches to composition to allow learners to bring their knowledge and skills and develop an identity as a writer. Talking as the follow procedure for the writing process increases engagement, supports deeper understanding of concepts due to the need to explain and justify their thinking. Additionally, negotiations among writers values the participation in a community of writers. The development of a writerly identity is one that involves a delicate juggling act within both the writing and the talk about the writing. Meaning negotiations among writers afford opportunities for developing skills around the word choice, relevance, speaking, listening, and written composition skills. Students who can share their voice, explore their own truths, whether in written, spoken, or other form, will be more able to take transformative action within their own lives and the lives of others. Another reason why talking about writing is important. So before we go to reflect on the research summary that I have included here in my presentation, I would like to share with you a variety of resources that I have. I hope you can see my Padlet. Yes, okay. In this Padlet, I have shared with you the research behind the reasons why oral language, knowledge development, content through oral language, meaningful classroom talk is important and supports the development of literacy skills. So you can further explore those in your own time. There are some reading scaffolds in here for read aloud instructions, interactive read alouds, some resources related to oral language and writing research, and the research that I have used to build my talking points for this presentation by Kim and Park are here. And also resources to practice oral language skills. Some of the articles that I mentioned also during the presentation, or some activities that you can try in your classroom to start working more on oral language skills here. And Socratic seminar information. If you're interested in looking at resources that involve knowledge building and connections with content areas, there are lots of resources out there. Some webinars that are related to literacy and language learners. I strongly recommend Dr. Elsa Hagen Cardenas's book. She has a strong focus on oral language too, and literacy development, and sometimes she does some webinars. And if you work at a WIDA school, also here are some resources that you might be familiar with already, in which you can use some of these stems and language function related activities in here. So before we go, I'm going to share this Padlet actually with you. And I would like for us to share your takeaway. So what are 3 ideas, even if it's one idea, that you can take away today, or something that's square with what you already know and do? And what is something that is circling around in your head, the questions you might have? You can unmute yourself too. In here.
I have a question, Gina, if that's okay. Thank you so much. I've been really thinking about this, coming back, reflecting on my teaching. So this is perfect. And thank you so much for the Padlet of like a one-stop shop. I really appreciate it. It's fantastic.
Great.
What advice would you give to a teacher if you're saying, okay, these are the top 2 or 3 techniques or approaches I would advocate you really try and stick to and really have a go at, so you can reflect on?
Someone mentioned earlier, and then everybody please join, start small. And I think we have to be very explicit with our learners. Let's say we start with turn and talk. partner talk, right? Like there's eye contact, partner A goes, partner B, right? Giving them those stems. The one who goes first is going to say this, and the one that goes next, and just have them practicing that again and again, and doing like a fishbowl sometimes where they can see others practicing the oral language exchanges so they can go off and practice that. That would be one of my suggestions, to start small so people don't feel too intimidated or overwhelmed to try to do too much too soon. Mhm. Anybody has other suggestions based on your experience? Well, I take advantage of planning opportunities too. So kind of previewing the planner before we go to the actual planning meeting and spotting that one area, whether it's math, explaining their thinking, or maybe it's in social studies, they have to narrate the steps they took to complete their project. So coming with choices and maybe an example for the teacher so they can choose based on what they are planning for that particular activity. That I find that also very helpful. If there is like a word wall, or there is one of those supports for the students to have conversations, and the teachers feel like, oh, okay, I can use that. I can just implement that in my class, or let me modify it. And then I will just use this part, but not that part.